This is Cyclades Titans, and we're going to review it. But before we review it, let's talk about Cyclades. It's very good. It's good in a multitude of ways. How many ways is it good in? So many. We've tried to list them all, and it's very difficult. We really have tried.
Okay, the bidding's really interesting. It's tense. The miniatures are nice. They're different for every player. It's got Ares in, and he's cool. It's got Zeus. He's cooler. It's really scary. It's kind of funny. Was that enough things?
No, keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
It's got a box. It comes in a box. Come on! Can I go inside?
No.
Titans is a brand spanking new expansion, but first of all, let's just get a little bit of a recap reminder on the base game, because, oh, look at it, it's lovely. You've got all these fantastic little pieces, funny little boats, and it's also beautifully and lovely crafted, and all the people look very... Oh, you just want to pick them up and touch them and maybe put them in your mouth, because they do look a bit delicious, and that's fine, even though they are men. But it's just a sort of game that's just incredibly inviting, and you put it on your table, and friends are just going to want to play it. They're going to want to move boats around. Yes.
In Cyclades, you all play different coloured Greeks struggling for control of an island chain, and you're going to use your little boats and have little boat fights. You're going to send your people over to islands and have little people fights. You're going to build 4 different colours of buildings, and when you complete all 4, they magically disappear and turn into a city. First 2 cities wins the game. And interestingly, Cyclades is always cramped because you shrink the island chain depending on how many people are playing. Now, you've played a few games where it feels like the gods are conspiring against you and you just can't win. Well, in Cyclades, they actually are. If we just look here, this is the real game, okay? There are 4 gods and players are greasing them so much with so much money that it starts to feel like an ancient Greco-Roman wrestling match with plans and players just slipping out of your grasp like a bar of soap.
You see, the meat of this game pie is played on here, the god board, where we have all of the gods that you'd expect to see. We've got Ares, the god of war. He gives you soldiers and lets you build barracks. You've got Poseidon, the god of pools, and he lets you build swimming ports and gives you boats and lets you move boats around, do boaty-licious things. And you've got Zeus, the god of lightning. He does praying, and then you've got Ares, not Athena. You've got Athena, who is the god of... She gives you philosophers, which, much like real life, they don't do anything. But it's great because basically you end up bidding for these different gods, and you put your sort of plinth where your mouth is, and you decide how much you're going to get, and then you outbid people, and somebody goes, oh, I wanted Ares, but now I'm going to have to go somewhere else. And you bump each other off this board until you've all decided how much money you're going to spend to gain the favour of these gods, and then you use that favour to then get a building or some boats or armies and do all the things that you want. And I know that sounds kind of confusing, but in reality it all plays out something like this.
Ares, god of war, lend me your power. Let me build a city, traverse across this great land, and destroy my neighbour, to build a grand metropolis in your name. Lend me your boon, and I will sacrifice to you 100 drachma.
Well, this is awkward.
What?
I'm helping him invade you.
Ares!
I know, but he gave me 110 drachma, so what you gonna do, am I right?
The end result is a game that's so smart, so funny, so undeniably enjoyable, whether you're secretly broke behind your screen or whether you're hoarding coins, whether you're getting that god you need to perform that deadly play that steals an entire city out from under your friend, or whether you're denying your same friend that god he needs. It's all just so funny, which is why, when we recommend this game in the strongest possible terms, we were so surprised when the first expansion hit 3 years ago, Cyclades Hades, and we found it to be a box of half-baked ideas. In no particular order, Hades added Hades. It added Hades' skeletal minions and his necropolis. It added heroes and then miniatures for them, and it added magic items and then priestesses to make the heroes stick around for longer, and then something called divine favours, and all of this stuff is fine, I guess, but here's the thing. Cyclades had a manual that is like 5 pages long, and all of this bolts like another 5 pages of rules onto the game without making it much more fun, you know? Veterans of Cyclades could probably play with one of these modules at a time and have a slightly different game, but we just found it kind of a hard sell.
And that brings you up to date, and it brings us onto the new expansion of Titans. And what's in the box? Well, we got a bunch of stuff in the box. We've got a brand new board. It's different. It's not lots of little islands, not lots of archipelagos. It's one big island. Or a couple of big islands, depending on how many people you play. It's massive. It's different. And it means you've got to play it differently. And that's fair enough, because you've got new things in it. You've got Titans. What are Titans? They're big bloody men. Massive men that stomp around it. You've got loads of cards. You can have feathery boots, like in Zelda, that allow you to jump over the map. It adds all of this stuff. It's a big, healthy injection of German stability into the faltering Greek economy of Cyclades.
That was a year ago. I don't know.
Oh, it's not terribly current, but
it's not at all current.
All right, fine.
Else?
It's also it's got a team variant. You can play it teams.
Like the team of Greece and the European Union.
You're not going to get away with that one if I'm not getting away with mine.
Okay, well,
so yes, as I said, we don't have all these itty bitty islands anymore. They're gone. They're being changed. They're being thrown in the bin of the planet. Instead, we have one or two big islands that you can then vie for control of with your friends, and that's good. And also, we have a new god, Kronos, who is, of course, the famous Greek god of Titans and expensive watches. Titan's good. Get to them in a minute. First things first, it doesn't overcomplicate things with a new building. You've already got your 4 things. You've got your barracks, you've got your ports, you've got your temples, and you've got your universities. It doesn't add a new one. It just means that when you win this on the track, you can choose to build the buildings of the gods above him. That might seem complicated, but all you need to know is it doesn't overly complicate that. But Titans, they might be a bit complicated, but they're kind of cool. They're just big men. They're really big men.
They're so big.
They're honestly massive, huge. And what can they do? They can stomp around all over the land, causing grief. And the wonderful thing about Titans is once you've got a Titan, you can pay to move them around on any turn. Doesn't matter if maybe that turn you paid for Zeus or Poseidon. Doesn't matter what god you've got. You can move your Titans. What? But that's ridiculous, Matt. Surely the game just turns into a massive stomping war game with people trampling all over each other. And trampling's not even a word. That sounds mad. But it isn't mad, because it's very expensive. Moving them one space costs 1 gold coin, then another one, 2, 3. Incrementally expensive. Sure, they can take armies along with them, but Titans on their own are just soldiers. They're not tough. They're not particularly good. So yeah, you've basically got this heavier slant on war. It means you can be doing stuff even if you don't have Ares with you. But at the same time, it's kind of balanced out by the fact that they're very expensive and very easy to lose.
I mean, basically what's happening here is it's not giving you more exciting options. It's giving you more potential bad options. You can make more ways to spend money that you don't have enough of anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, opening you up to awful decisions is very much Titan's modus operandi. You've got 5 no, they're not there. Where my magic items go? You've got 5 magic items which get shuffled into the mythological creatures deck, then show up on the track, and these are outrageously powerful. The winged sandals turn your biggest army into a paratrooper bombing around the island. The helm of invisibility lets you use someone else's boats to travel around. The lightning bolt means whenever you get outbid, that player needs to pay you money, but when you get your magical thing, you get a little plinth. And then you have to decide where on the board to place that plinth. So you think, well, I want my Caduceus, which lets me heal troops, to be the very front line of the battle so I can use it. But I don't want it there because someone else will just move in and take it. So I want it at the back, obviously. That's where you want it safe. But then you can't use it, so that's stupid. So, I mean, you'll probably want it at the front. But that's yeah. Also, there's the city cards, which are hiding somewhere. So at the start of the game, you're going to pick 2 very special cities that players can build if they want, like a city that's the most famous port in Greece, or a city that's the biggest merchant capital of the islands. And the reason that's great is if you, like me, absolutely love these little metropolis tiles which depict all 4 of the smaller buildings in a big bustling city, these new city tiles that depict bigger versions of some of the buildings, it's going to feel like the game's writing a love letter back to you.
Finally, you get the bechamel sauce, which is drizzled all over the delicious aubergines of this hearty massacre. And that's team play. I mean, we love team variants on war games, and not just because we're always saying, come on, war games, why don't you have team variants? But it's so you can share a struggle with a friend. You can sit and go, together. It's fun. And the great thing about the team variant within this is that it doesn't actually make the game any more complicated, which is a real plus. And think about the bidding track, because you've not just got this thing with lines of being like, well, you can't cross here, you hold this border, all the classic wargame stuff. Over on the bidding track here, you've got a lot of interesting stuff going on, because obviously you haven't got enough gods to go around. Somebody's got to go to poor little Apollo and get nothing much. But so it means you have this thing of, should you outbid me? Should I outbid you? Well, don't outbid me. For God's sake, I can only afford to spend that. If you outbid me, then I'll be stuffed. You have this fantastic game of being, no, hang on, you outbid me on that, then I can outbid them on that. It just completely changes the bidding game. It turns it into this mad... It's like you're in a bare-knuckle boxing fight, except while you're doing that, you're also trying to save your little brother.
Yeah, imagine that. I think Titans is an absolutely fantastic expansion. Cyclades was just a perfect game. There's no other word for it. So of course, bolting extra stuff onto it is going to slow it down, make a simple game more complicated. That's not what you want. But in changing the actual fabric of that puzzle, in changing the board, in changing how you talk to your friends, in changing the decisions you make to go from awful to more awful, the puzzle is the same but different. Titans is like a sequel to your favourite movie, you know? And in owning it, I'm going to want to play the base Cyclades, then I'm going to want to play Titans, then I'm going to want to play Team Titans, then I'll go back to the base game again, then maybe I'll throw in a Hades module. But I'm not sure I'll ever need to play anything else ever again. Matt might, though.
No, I like it, but it does have a bit of a problem and difficulty in the team game variant, particularly because of the fact that in traditional Cyclades, you've all got these mad little islands and you're having a lovely time, and it's just like being on Club 1830, but with boats. And that's fine, because it means if you're doing really badly, then people will probably leave you alone, A, out of pity, and B, because they won't really have any benefit to just come and stomp on you repeatedly until you're dead. But in the team game, of course, it doesn't really work like that. If you are doing badly, then you just become the weak point. You become the chink in the armour, and people can't leave you alone, and so they will just give you hell. And I found that the first time we played this, I had a very bad start.
It was really brutal.
And I couldn't pull back from it. And it was one of these things where I knew quite early on in the game that I couldn't pull back from it. And it just meant for most of the game, I couldn't do anything.
Titans is great, just don't make our mistake. Just play the base game first, get to know it, then move on to ours, then play with teams.
If everybody knows what they're doing, then you'll have a whale of a time with teams. But if one person isn't quite sure and hasn't played it before or whatever, don't, because they will have a bad time.
So there you have it. You definitely want to buy Cyclades, and then the moment you feel up for it, you definitely want to buy Titans.
And then you could buy Comet, which is made by the same people, except it's in Egypt, and you get to have a scorpion.
That is good.
It's good.
And then if you feel like it, maybe buy Cyclades, Hades, and then just play with every module at once in a huge game of Cyclades.
No. It says in the manual for Titans, there's be warned that you will then be engaged in an odyssey from which you will not be able to return. So you can't do that.
That's...
Not return.
We've got to put it back in the box.
Put it back in the box.
All of it. It's going everywhere!
Listen, I don't want to go on an odyssey.
Can't happen, man.